MacLeod, and welcome to Unknown Territory, Episode 4. Hey guys, how's it going tonight? We have actually a pretty good show. This is the man they call Dave for Unknown Territory, and we got a very special guest host tonight. My brother, for so many years, one of my best bros, and his name is Micah. Why don't you say hi?
Hey everybody out there in Radio Land, how y'all doing?
Well, they can't answer you now, but maybe they'll answer in the comments.
Let's hope so.
So how you been?
Good, I just got back.
How was your Easter?
It was, I worked. I worked for Easter. We did 700 walk-ins and reservations.
Well,
So.
they don't know what that means.
Oh, sorry.
Don't tell them where you work. Just give them a
That's
gift.
like, I work at banquets. I'm basically a merc for hire, really. I do all sorts of jobs, like from doing law firms to like working in the decorating business to like doing moving and dog sitting or what have you not.
He's a jack of all trades, that's for sure.
Master of none.
Master of none, but, you do a lot. I had a good Thanksgiving over at the parents'.
You mean Easter?
Why did I say Thanksgiving? See, I always tie in my two favorite holidays that get me close to my family. Thanksgiving and Easter.
That's all right. We had someone try to wish his mother a happy Thanksgiving Easter, so he wasn't all.
Thanks
all
Easter.
There. Yeah, thanks Easter.
Well, that's how it works, I guess. Now I always get them confused because those are the two times during the year that I get together with my family. What little there are left. Yeah, we had some ham, and my mother makes the greatest of stuff.
Your mom's a good cook.
So we got about a good 3 articles for you tonight that I'm going to bounce off of Micah here. And after that, we're going to get a little bit into the paranormal tonight for our main topic. Except not other people's stories, but ours, which you very well might be interested in, listeners, because out of the two of us, we got a couple I'm pretty damn sure we can pull out of our butts, which aren't fake, which are 100% true according to us. So, why don't you lead this one out? You're new to this, so why don't you lead this one out to the first break?
This is Micah on Unexplained Territory, and we'll see you guys shortly.
Yes, we will, so you guys enjoy some music for the time being. We are coming back here on Unknown Territory. This is the man they call Dave here with Micah.
What's going on, guys?
We got a couple of interesting topics, news topics to bring up to you this time.
Ooh, I love news.
And this is all about paranormal tonight, as I said earlier. First one I want to bring up is from a website called Phantoms and Monsters. You'll be able to find it in the show notes below. It's kind of have you ever heard of time jumps?
Yeah, I've heard weird cases like that.
Time jumps, like where all of a sudden it felt like, you were in one place, but then you're not.
Yep. Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you?
Actually, I haven't really experienced anything like that, I have to say.
Well, you're lucky. Neither have I, but some of these people, I swear.
Can you imagine just sitting on your chair, like, drawing, and then all of a sudden, the hell, something flies by you, and then you're not in your house anymore?
No, this isn't like a UFO thing. It's a time jump.
Oh, no, I wasn't implying UFO. Like, you know how space and everything just...
Yeah, it comes flying by in a sense. Okay. that's kind of the angle on this. This story, it's told by a woman named Deborah in Dallas who called into Coast to Coast AM. If you remember, Art Bell used to host it. George Norrie hosts it now.
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
You remember Art Bell?
I remember Art Bell, yeah.
He was the founder of Coast to Coast AM, and this was something that happened to her as a young girl. Now, this is in her words. When I was not even a teenager, my parents put me in my room to punish me. I was supposed to be in that room. Well, it got really quiet in the house, and I thought that they had all gone outside, my brothers and sisters. So I got up, walked through the living room, and out the front door. There was nobody in the house, so I just assumed they all went outside because it was summertime. Well, when I stepped outside the door, I was somewhere else. When I looked around, everything was burned and charred, and all I could see were tall buildings across the way with dead people hanging out of the windows. The trees were burned, and I didn't really understand it back then, but as an adult, when I grew up, I realized I was seeing the results of a nuclear blast. Everything was gone. I looked down at the ground to see if I could see a bug crawling, and there was nothing. And when I looked down to see, because I couldn't hear a cricket, I couldn't hear anything. When I looked at my feet, I saw that I had on some sandals that I'd never seen before. Like they kind of laced up my legs, and my dress was tattered at the end like I'd been somewhere dirty. You know, and that scared me. I didn't know what to do, so I turned around to go back into the house. And there's the door, and the door was gone. I was in another place. The house wasn't even here. It was gone. I didn't go any farther than to just stand on the porch, so I decided to back up and reach behind me until I felt the doorknob. And that's when I felt the doorknob. I turned it, and I got in the door, and I was terrified. I was leaning against the door, breathing, and all my brothers and sisters were sitting in the living room, and they started screaming, "Mom! Debbie sneaked out past the window! She sneaked out the window!" But I didn't. I walked right past them, but they weren't there, and suddenly now when I go back in the door, and my parents went and checked out the window what they saw, they couldn't see where I'd gone out the window. But I never went out that window. I went straight out the front door. And I got a whipping for that. Now, this was on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie on March 11th, 2016, as transcribed by Jamie Bryan. What do you think about that story?
That's really odd. I don't think I've ever heard of any case such as that. It almost seems like, like when someone has a dream that's almost real. Have you ever had one of those dreams where
Lucid dreaming,
yeah,
is
where
you
it just
really
feels
think it's
so
real?
Like, best example I have is like, you're eating something in a dream, and then you wake up and you still feel like it was in your hand, like something feels like it was actually there. I don't know if you've ever just like seen something or having an experience of something like that. You know what I mean?
I've had a dream before in which I had a wallet full of money, and I woke up. Now, this is actually a true story, ladies and gentlemen. Not on the paranormal type, just on dream type. I had a dream that I had an X amount of money, large amount of money in my wallet. I woke up in the morning thinking, for a good half hour, that I still had that money in my wallet. And while I'm taking a shower, I'm thinking what I'm going to spend the money on, and then it slowly dawned on me. It was a dream. And it was like the worst feeling in the world. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get a new great TV. I'm going to go buy a Oculus Rift. I'm going to get all this. And then, no.
Bummer.
Brain heartbreak. All right, I got a next article for you guys here, and for you as well, Micah. This article is coming from the Telegraph. It involves taxi drivers from the Tohoku, or actually, I pronounced that wrong. I'm sorry. The Tohoku tsunami disaster. And they're reporting that they had ghost passengers well after the fact. Now, we all know about the March 11th earthquake and tsunami picking up ghost passengers. There's stories running around the internet about that. But at least 7 drivers in the coastal town of Inishigomaki where nearly 6,000 people died and was, totally destroyed by the tsunami by more than 30 feet high, have apparently had phantom fares.
Really?
The men were among more than 100 drivers interviewed by Yuka Kudo, a student of sociology at Tohoku Gakuin University, as part of her graduation thesis, the Asahi newspaper reported. One of the men told Ms. Kudo that a woman climbed into his taxi near Ishinomaki Station just a few months after the disaster. She asked him to go to the Mina Mihama district. Sorry, it's sad. I had a foreign exchange student program to Japan, and I'm still having trouble pronouncing things to this day. Minamihama district, to which the driver said that there was nothing left standing there. The driver recounted that the woman said, "Have I died?" And when he turned to look, his taxi was empty. And another driver, directed to a different part of the city by a man who appeared to be in his 20s, similarly found himself alone in his vehicle when he actually arrived at the destination. There are so many of them. Taxi drivers are not the only ones, apparently, that are reporting seeing ghosts in Tohoku's coastal communities. There have been numerous reports of spectral figures in residential districts that have been pretty much scoured of all buildings, and spirits lining up outside shops that no longer exist. Exorcists have reported helping people who claim to see headless ghosts, bodies missing arms or legs, and others who believe they have assumed the spirits of some of the dead. Now, in that sense, I'm assuming the article is saying that those spirits have attached themselves to them.
That's not uncommon in some cases, though.
No, it's not. They go on to say that, now this is a quote from Ms. Kudo, young people feel very strong chagrin at their deaths when they can't meet the people that they love. As they want to convey their bitterness, they may have chosen taxis as a way to do so. None of the drivers, though, experienced fear of their ghost passengers, but instead regarded their encounters as events to be cherished. Now, yet again, for you folk listening out there right now, this may be paranormal, but this was a very, very big tragedy. And this will tell you exactly why, because the records show that 15,893 people died as a result of that 9-magnitude earthquake. It lasted 6 minutes and triggered a tsunami that in certain places of Japan reaches 133 feet high and 6 miles inland. And as far as the ghost stories go, 2,572 people are still listed as missing to this day. So if anybody knows anybody in Japan, any families, if they find anybody, please contact, your local police. If you know anything, if you find a missing person, we're not here to tell you all doom and gloom, because we really believe in this stuff. There's a lot of people missing. It was a horrible event. So on that note, let's bring it up a little bit higher. You got something to say?
I don't know if you folks at home are familiar with a lot of ghost stories of like ghost passengers getting into cabs or, asking to be brought to different destinations. I don't know. I know of happenings, but I don't know specific places. But there is this one story I actually like. It's about a flapper woman. Back in the 1920s, during the Roaring '20s.
What's a flapper woman?
Flapper girl.
Most people, but some people may not
Flapper
know what
girls, you might notice them in like old gangster movies and stuff like that. And by gangsters, I mean real gangsters. They have bobbed haircuts, usually wear some sort of like a hat with a feather up, or they usually have these like really long dresses with like pearls, and they're basically like they were taboo. It wasn't what a woman should be acting like.
So these days, either AKA a prostitute or an escort.
Close. They weren't always like that. Some of it was just that was just the style for some women. Especially for burlesque. Some of that stuff was popular. Well, to get on with the story real quickly, apparently there is this woman that is found. I think the story takes place in Chicago. She'll be walking along and she'll be asked to take to this certain address. and this driver will take this woman to this certain address, and it's at a cemetery. And when he goes to turn around and let her out of the car, she's already gone. She's missing.
There's a lot of stories about that, like the woman in white.
Yep.
In a lot of different countries, not only states in the United States.
There's this hippie who asks for a ride. She's dressed up in hippie garb, of course, and she's walking along the road. She can be caught hitchhiking. You know, I'll at one point, if I'm ever on the show again, I'll have to look up some of these stories. And
if you're ever on the show again,
if you guys would like, I could definitely show you a few story clippings. So,
and before we go into the bake. Before we go into the bake, we're not potheads.
Are we doing cakes?
But we don't. Oh, cakes.
See what I did?
No, we don't do any of that. We don't mind if you do, though. Might make our podcast a little bit more interesting.
Make sure it's gluten free.
Yeah, I don't want to get that celiacs, right? Wah, wah, wah. All right, before we go into the break, you want to tell these people a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you're good at? Just to kind of promote yourself a little bit?
I don't really like talking about myself too much.
All right, well, you don't have to.
Well, I can just say one thing, you know.
You don't have to.
Well, I'm a musician.
I always like to plug my brothers and sisters who come on as guest hosts.
Well, you asked me to say something, so I'm going to say at least one thing. I don't want to put myself on the spot.
All right, I don't want to interrupt.
I'm a musician. I also go to school for voiceovers. And I basically do a lot of traveling, especially around the North Country here. I like to go on adventures and hikes. I was just at Ravenloft Castle that was brought over from Scotland in 1923, brick by brick. It's a beautiful place. Anybody who wants to check it out, that's Ravenloft Castle. Sometimes it's also known as Dundas Castle. You're better off asking the caretaker if you can look around. Me and a couple friends of mine snuck in and just, outside the courtyard grounds and stuff and took pictures. But when I
saw those pictures, and they are amazing.
Yeah, they are definitely really cool. It's something to check out. But yeah, it says no trespassing there, and the only way up it is by a hill unless you talk to the caretaker. But check it out. That's Ravenloft Castle, also known as Dundas Castle.
Sorry, my brother Mike has a little bit of dyslexia there.
Har, really funny.
Hey, Mr. Voiceover, why don't you lead us off into the next break before we get into our major paranormal topics for the night? Do a voice for the ladies and gentlemen. All right, you don't want to do one. I'm going to do one. All right then, ladies and gentlemen. This is Unknown Territory, and we're going to see you after the next break.
That's an awful accent.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
Oh, it's awful.
It's a great accent, isn't it?
It's awful.
It's crazy Scotland.
No, it's not. It's like a caricature of, an American's version of a Scottish person.
That's the point.
Oh, good God, man, no.
All right, guys, we'll see you after the break. Enjoy some music. pound of the drums. This is Unknown Territory. I'm the man they call Dave here with Micah. We are back yet again with some personal stories tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, basically what we'll be doing right now is we're going to tell two each personal paranormal stories of our own. If you have encountered anything like this, feel free to comment, feel free to mail, feel free to contact Unknown Territory at TheManTheyCallDave. You know it. But we're going to start with two each. So, would you care to go first, or?
Actually, you know what? I think we should start off by you tell one and I'll tell one, then you tell one again, which I think would be a good breakup. So
Okay.
why don't you go first?
All right, I got one for you. Hold on 1 second. A couple years back, I used to live in Albany with my girlfriend and two roommates, and we were all leaving for Thanksgiving. And my mother had picked my girlfriend and I up, and we had left my cat Bradley behind. Locked all doors, windows, etc., because he was an outdoor cat. But yet, when we came back home hours later, I noticed my roommates weren't back yet. I texted them, "Have you been back?" They said no. And when I got inside, we're bringing in leftovers and everything, I couldn't find Bradley. We're looking all over the house, my mother, my girlfriend, and I. We couldn't find him. It wasn't until about 20 minutes later we had a scratching from my basement door. Also, totally locked. Now, mind you, when we left Bradley, he was sitting in his favorite spot, on top of my refrigerator. But yet when we opened and unlocked all the back door, he was standing right there, flew inside the house like he was scared out of his mind. And to this day, there was absolutely no way that this cat could have gotten out of the house because all doors were locked and we only had two keys. And my roommates were in the Saugerties, obviously Albany, Saugerties, New York state. To this day, that is still unexplained to me, to my mother, and to my now ex-girlfriend. It still remains unexplained. Cats can't phase through doors, so how did Bradley go from being on top of my fridge when we all left to being behind a locked door? There were no vents to the outside. There was no way. So I guess that's my first paranormal story, I suppose. Thing I can't explain.
That's pretty interesting because I remember you had a lot of stories from that place, and you and I and those of us who used to hang around there a lot always heard weird noises or strange happenings. So I find that kind of interesting. Do you remember the rocking chair downstairs in the basement that used to rock by itself?
Yeah, I try not to think about that one.
Yeah, that was a weird one. And then the pictures you got of those blue orbs, I actually still have those laying around.
You do?
Yeah, they're in. When I moved, I left a lot of my stuff back at my mom's garage, and those pictures are actually flapping around somewhere. I think I have them in my memory box.
Doesn't shock me.
So I'll actually, if it's cool, if I find them, I should post them on the site or whatever, and
Why
maybe
not?
people would like to see them. So
you got a story too, right? You have more stories than you can count. But what's one that comes to your mind? Let's set them up. Let's set them up for your story.
Actually, this is one you actually haven't heard, believe it or not.
All right.
So my.
Hold on. We gotta get into the story first. What's it about?
It's about my uncle's first restaurant called the Black Bear in Lake Placid.
Boom. All right, we shall start with this Black Bear in Lake Placid.
So, my uncle's restaurant, the Black Bear, at the time, actually used to be a house. Way back when Lake Placid first became a town. My uncle bought the place and turned it into a restaurant. Now, before I started working for him, I would go up and see him there, and I'm very sensitive to stuff like that, so I kind of had a feeling about the place. Well, in 2006, I had just broken up with a girlfriend of mine, and I just went through some terrible stuff. So I ended up going to college in North Country and working for my uncle. So, a year passed, and we were getting ready to move the restaurant because we just built another one called Charlie's next door. So we were getting ready to leave that one. And so as we're moving stuff out, I'm downstairs in the kitchen. Our kitchen was actually downstairs. So we had the top kitchen where everybody could, see what's being cooked. And then downstairs is where we prepped and made everything. So there was this ice machine towards the back door, and the shovel was sitting on the ice machine. And I happened to be cutting potatoes at the time, minding my own business, as, generically as that sounds. And it was kind of windy downstairs, which this shovel, mind you, was metal, so it wasn't plastic. All of a sudden, the shovel just slides off the ice machine with force and slams against the wall. I immediately run upstairs as my uncle and one of the chefs are moving kitchen supplies to the other kitchen of the other restaurant, which is just down the way, next to Goldberry's.
Well, I'm pretty sure they don't know where half this.
I'm sorry, not Goldberry's. It was the Golden Arrow. It's I'm sure some people have been to Lake Placid, so if you know the North Country area there. So so then what happened was I told my uncle what was going on, and my uncle kind of chuckled, and he goes, yeah, we hear footsteps in the restaurant sometimes, plates get moved, stuff like that, and so then I didn't, I kind of was a little shaken up about it, because that thing hit with such a tremendous force, it should have put a hole in the wall, but it didn't. So I went back downstairs, and I continued to do what I'm doing. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a shadow person standing there. And, I don't know if you people have ever caught anything back in the peripheral vision of the corner of your eye, and you think you see something there and it's not there. Chances are, half the time, it actually might be something. And the other half of the time might be your hair in your eye. But, things like that. So, needless to say, I kept staring towards the back of the door for the rest of the time, making French fries. So, that's my ghost story about Lake Placid. A funny thing about Lake Placid is, I don't know if you people know this, little history tidbit for you, but the Cascades is this long pathway to get into past Keene Valley into Lake Placid. Used to be the old rum running route through Saranac Lake and up to Canada. So a lot of mobsters and rum runners and stuff ran through there, and the town has a history of that.
Your old car, I remember, was called Rum Runner. You named it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually my story about.
Now, I did not hear that one. That's interesting.
Yeah, I can't believe I never told you that one. That one was actually quite funny, and it just happened right in front of my eyes. I stared right at the shovel as it just was slid off the ice machine, and that's a tall ice machine. That's about to your door, in height.
So about a good 7 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen plenty of ice machines in my day with my travels and everything. Interesting. See, ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't tell me everything. He's my bro, but he still doesn't tell me everything. What's that say about him, all right? Think about it. But I guess everyone has their secrets.
Or do they?
All right. You know what? We're not going to go to a break just yet. We're hitting the 33 mark. Why don't you come up? Why don't we do one story? What strikes you the most is the creepiest thing that while you and I were together really hit you before we take our final break and then we come back and exit the show. I don't want to go past a certain amount of marks, so what is the creepiest thing in your mind that you think that you and I both encountered at the same time?
I think my favorite story to date was when I first hung out with you at your house, when I took a cab to your house, if you remember correctly.
Which house was that?
When we were in high school together, back in, I don't know what street it is. It's where the ice cream parlor was. The ice
Oh,
cream
back when I
shop.
lived with my parents.
Yeah, back when we were kids,
Okay.
when we first started becoming friends.
All right, let's move on with that. Let's not give specific location
Right.
details, but
So, the black dog.
that thing.
That's. I think that's a great story. I don't know if.
A lot of people, I'm sure, if you're listening to a paranormal podcast, you know about the black dog, you know about Black Shuck, you know about all of these that supposedly herald doom.
We actually literally ran into the black dog. We were on a golf course, and there's
You
this.
can explain this one. You can tell it a lot better than I can.
There
But
was
him
this.
and I were both together out on a golf course one day, just messing around, being kids.
It was snowy out. I remember, and there were clouds, and you could just see
bunch
the
of snow on
sun.
the ground still.
Kind of
Welcome to New
reflecting
York
off the
State.
sky. It wasn't clear. But there's this place I dubbed the Orchard because the golf course actually used to be farmland. So we got up to the Orchard, and maybe about
Oh, I'm still seeing this in my head, and it's still creeping me out.
we were at the top of the hill, and maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles away, there's this line of woods. Well, before the woods, we were looking over, and there was this black dog. And literally, you could tell it was barking. But here's the funny thing. No noise came out of it whatsoever. And
This was a big dog. The way I would, if memory serves me now, we were younger. What would we say, 18, 19?
No, younger
you're
than that.
No, you're older than I am.
Yeah, so I was like 17 years old.
No, that would place me. Well, you're 2 years older than me. So if you're 17, I'd be 15. No, that's
that's
young.
way too young. Wow.
No, you were probably 20, 21, and I was probably 18, 19, around there.
No, I was 20.
So I was 18?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if memory serves me, this dog, from the vantage points that we had, was probably roughly about the size of a baby black bear. And I've seen black bear. I'm a hunter, and I know this stuff. I've seen them in the wild, and it was about the size of an adolescent black bear.
Yeah.
All black, and it was
accurate.
barking, except no noise, as Mike has said. Now, you continue. I just wanted to associate a size with this.
Oh, no, that's fine. So we thought we were going crazy because, you literally see this dog barking and
All
no
black.
noise is coming out of it. So it basically runs into the woods. So we go down to the snow and check it out. Well, where it stood, there was footprints leading maybe like I don't know. How would you measure the tree line from the where it stood?
Maybe about 25 meters from the orchard to the tree line.
Yeah. So where the dog was standing from the tree line, basically it showed just like, 4 prints and then nothing. Like literally no footprints in the snow into the woods. Like,
keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we were trespassing on a golf course during the middle of winter.
So it was.
I do not condone that.
It was the freakiest
do
thing
it.
I've ever seen. Freakiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I've seen weird stuff like throughout my childhood. But yeah, like there should have been like snow prints leading into the woods, and and where you can see,
or at least human footprints that somebody's walking their dog.
But there was no human walking the dog, so that wouldn't have made any sense. It was just dog prints.
But we're younger, we can mistake things, but there was no mistaking.
Right.
Those footprints disappearing in the snow with nothing around it.
That was crazy. But that's the one story that sticks out in my mind.
That's a hell of a good one, I got to admit.
I don't know if you guys have ever had a run-in with a black dog or have heard stories of black dog, but there's like 3 things that go with a black dog. What was it? The first one, first time you see it.
There's many different types of black dogs.
Right, but the first time you see it, it's good luck. Second time you see it, it's bad luck.
Third time is death.
Death, yeah. So
I believe that's an Irish folklore, though.
It is.
Or Celtic.
So if you guys have any stories about the black dog, post your comments below. And share stories. We love to hear.
We would love to hear them.
We love to hear stories such as those, and things that have actually happened to people.
And sooner or later, we're gonna have a call-in section as well for you listeners. If you want to call in, share your stories with us live on air. We will be doing some live streaming sometime soon, in which we hope to get, this community involved with the paranormal, involved with the odd news, involved with some fun, interesting topics, science, paranormal, anything just genuinely cool. But on that note, we are going to go into our last break here, ladies and gentlemen. This is Unknown Territory with the man they call Dave and Micah, and we will be back in a moment. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. This is the man they call Dave with Micah. Wrapping up the show tonight. Now, sir,
Yeah.
you're new to the show.
Mm-hmm.
You're the new host, so we have a little segment I like to call What Would You Choose? Basically, what I'm going to do is ask you a series of 5 questions, 2 things each. You have to pick one or the other. You have to pick one or the other and explain why you would pick that. Are you game, good Sir Micah?
Sure. Shoot.
All right. You're first.
Oh, hang on. Not to interject, ladies and gentlemen, I had a feeling something this odd was going to happen.
Everything odd happens on my podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You should know that by now. He just was not expecting this.
Which is unknown territory.
We've plugged that enough. I think they know what they're listening to. Okay,
You sure?
you have to pick one, and you have to explain why.
All right, well, shoot.
Your first is to be able to do anything, but everybody you love dies and can't come back to life. Or be yourself normally, and everybody you love is still alive. You have to pick one and explain why, and it needs to be honest.
Be myself normally so everybody I love is still alive.
Or be able to do anything you want, but everybody you love dies and can't come back to life.
I don't really love a lot of people. So, for the hell of it, I'll go with I'll be myself normally, and
Is that your true answer?
yeah, that's my true answer.
Okay. That is your true answer, huh?
Yeah. Well, wait a minute.
Okay.
No, if I could do anything I
No,
wanted
you
to...
already answered.
No,
You
but
have
hang
the
on. Hang on. Let's just juxtapose this question for a second, side by side. If I did get to do anything I want and everybody died, right?
Mhm.
I could bring them back to life. Ta-da! So continue with your questionnaires.
Okay, here's your second question, Mr. Micah.
Oh my.
You could go anywhere in time and space, like Doctor Who in the TARDIS, but you die at 39 years old. Or not do any of it, but you will live until 93.
I'll go with the die at 39, Alex, for 700.
Oh, you would, huh?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'd get to see any place I wanted. I'd get to see what really happened in history and go to different worlds and travel different places. And die at 39? Hell, I lived a very good life, and time would be slow anyway.
Okay, that totally makes a lot of sense. I got your third question here.
All right.
That made sense. Cut off 3 fingers from your dominant hand.
Do I have to hit my funny bone?
You heard ladies and gentlemen, he heard our last podcast.
Lame.
Cut off 3 fingers from your dominant hand, or cut off your entire non-dominant hand.
What would be the point for either?
You'd have to choose one.
I'll cut off 3 fingers from my dominant hand.
Why?
That way I could slap somebody with the other. Or, do that really neat trick with shadow puppets. Because then it always looks like you're holding a gun.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't say what fingers, so I think I'd leave my pointer finger and my thumb.
Okay.
I hear crickets. Lots and lots of crickets. But yes, that's what I would do.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is how far we've sunk. All right, I'm going to ask you a very, very existential question now. Now, this is coming from the top of my head.
Oh, boy. We're doing guessing games.
No, this is a good one for you, bro.
All right, what do you got?
Would you rather know how you will die or when you will die?
I'd say how I will die. Because I really don't care when. I don't... Cause
yeah, but what if like you know that you're gonna die by being hit by a car? Wouldn't you be afraid of cars for the rest of the time?
No. What's the fun in that?
So you choose how you would die over knowing when you would die.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would choose when. That way I could at least get my ducks in order and figure out what I could do up until that point.
Nah. No. Because I don't want to worry about when I'm going to die. And, if I find out how I'm going to die, at least I'm prepared.
Well, what if how you were going to die is falling off the side of the cliff in your car, going through the front windshield, tumbling down a cliff, rolling into a pricker bush, which then you fall through another cliff, running into razor wire. Next thing you know, you're falling into a volcano.
Well, I think I'd be dead by the first cliff I fell off of. And again with a car? What's your obsession with cars?
I don't know. I have a car thing today.
Jeez.
I'm just coming up with shit straight off the bat.
I know. I'm just saying. But okay. I'm sure our viewers would. How would you guys, or listeners, I should say, listener viewers, how would you guys? Would you guys want to know how you're gonna die, or when you're gonna die, or what flower you're gonna sniff? I'm just putting stuff out there. I mean. Come on.
I like lilac.
Sorry, I was trying to lighten the mood a little bit, because falling through razor wire, I mean, for anybody, that's got to suck. Unless you're a masochist. I mean, well, Jesus Christ. Maybe I'd like to go through the wire first. I'm just saying. Well.
All right, I got one last one for you here.
What's that?
To lighten the mood. If you could have any one superpower, what would it be and why? I'm not even going to give you an example. One superpower, if you like a superhero, could be flight, could be manipulating objects, telekinesis, could be anything. What superpower would you want the most and why?
Time.
But you can only pick one.
To go back in time, or to go forward in time.
So, master of time. Why?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm very big into seeing things that happened, or what's going, or what could happen in the future. Or what really happened in the past, because if you guys...
So like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, basically. I would be Doctor Strange.
So, he had many abilities, but
right,
one of his...
That would be the power I would choose for him.
time.
I think time is amazing. Time is a man-made thing, but planes of existence and, you know...
Time is relative. It's not
Yes.
necessarily a man-made thing.
Well, clocks are man-made things. You know, timepieces
It's just a way to
are
measure.
man-made. Right. Well, you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So when I say man-made, I mean like clocks, sundials, all that. But yeah, you know, you guys can answer those questions too on if you just put your comments down below. It'd be really awesome.
Please, it would be amazing to hear
That'd be
from you
really
guys.
cool to hear, like, you know, what comes out of somebody's mind, you know, what they would choose. So feel free.
All right, ladies and gents, we're about to wrap this up now. It's been an interesting night. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm the man they call Dave. This is the man they also called Micah.
I'm a man. I'm not a woman.
So you're not a man or a woman?
No, I'm androgynous.
This is This is unknown territory, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening, and we will see you and talk to you next week.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, check under your bed. Who knows what's under there?
I could be under there.
You don't want that, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon, and see you next weekend.
But I cannot say, I cannot say. Heard you tried to keep your hat on the shelf. Married a woman, went off and loved someone else. Could be as well. I cannot tell. Oh no, I cannot tell. Oh, 'cause the story I heard is that people are born, and the measures you take just to wrestle you alone. All the money you take, all the memories you spill. Will he measure your time? Will he measure your will? Oh, now. One of these mornings will be the loudest you hear. You write your story on firecracker paper and disappear. You disappear.